Hey, you're listening to Gutter Trash, episode 377, Valiant's Shadowman by Justin Jordan and Patrick Zurcher. Right now, you're listening to the sweet, sexy sounds of smooth jazz saxophone. And my name is Eric.
And I am Jason.
Hello, Jason.
Hello, Eric.
How are you this fine day?
Smooth.
Of course you are. Very relaxing.
It's very, very nice. I feel like I just got, massaged by a sexy caveman. like Captain Caveman and Barry Manilow.
Together, or if they had a baby?
They're one dude.
Okay. How's it going?
Pretty well.
Yeah.
Actually, I did just leave meditation right before I came here, so I do feel very relaxed.
Well, that's cool. I just played Grand Theft Auto before you showed up, so I also feel very relaxed.
It's kind of a meditation, really. I would describe that as a meditation. I've played that before, and it's like a Zen thing, because for me, there was never, like, a goal, like I had to do certain things.
Right.
It was just like, whatever happens, happens.
Right. I just like to drive around and drive real fast and run into people, and then occasionally get out and start shooting people.
And then you get home and you play Grand Theft Auto.
Yep. I've had many trips home that kind of describe how I feel.
Right.
Like,
It was like 3/4 of that experience.
pretty much, yeah.
Well, hopefully you've never actually murdered anyone during road rage.
I have not.
That's good.
Yet. Can't rule it out entirely as impossible, It's possible.
It's happening.
It's not likely, but it's possible.
Yeah.
I don't handle things well sometimes.
Well, sometimes drivers bring out the worst in.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mean you specifically. I mean, like, I'm a pretty mellow dude, but sometimes when I'm driving, if someone's driving like an idiot, like riding my ass or whatever, it just like flicks a switch.
Yeah.
I don't even have to like, boil over it and like, think about it for traffic light after traffic light if they're still behind me. I mean, it's just instantaneous.
Oh yeah. That actually reminds me, I saw this thing online, like a meme quote thing, whatever, and it was this phrase, and it was like, if you run into an asshole, you've run into an asshole. If you run into multiple assholes, then you're the asshole. And I read that and I was like, well, clearly this is a person who has never worked customer service or been out in public. Because people are assholes.
They certainly can be.
Even children are assholes. I went to get a pizza the other night. And as I walked to the door, there was an older lady coming out, and she had like a large pizza and like a 2-liter of pop, and a very small woman, and had her hands full. So I thought, I'm certainly gonna let this woman come out first, And so I opened the door and held it open for her to leave before I walked in. And as I did that, this little fucking piece of shit kid like barged in and nearly knocked her over.
Right.
And then cut in line.
Right. Yeah. It was like, yes.
Just, so assholes are now training their kids to be assholes too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of that is inevitable because, when you're a kid, you just kind of, you learn from what you see.
Sure. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
role models. Who needs them? That's why we had Blackie Lawless and Ozzy and all those guys as role models when we were kids.
They were respectful dudes.
Yeah, they were awesome.
That actually reminds me of something else I saw online. I know I've played them for you before, but there's a band called Steel Panther.
Okay, yeah.
They're a comedy band, and they're very in the vein of like 80s hair metal, and every single one of their songs, they're not clever, and I would say to a point not even all that funny, but clearly like they have their thing that they're doing,
right?
And it's, you know, it's not even sexual innuendo, it's just sexual.
I know I've heard them, but I honestly can't hear one of their tunes in my head.
Well, sure,
yeah.
It's just generic 80s hair metal,
sure.
Just with extra crude lyrics and just over the top offensiveness, you know. But you know, I will admit that I'm not a fan, but what they do, they're very good at what they're doing,
right?
You know, which is being offensive and being 80s hair metal. So I saw that they had partnered with a like a guitar tech company to put out some, like, you know, products for guitars and like pedals and stuff like that. And so they started selling a pedal called the Pussy Melter, so that, and I quote, paraphrase, you get tone as wet as the ladies in the front row.
Oh, jeez.
And so crude,
sure.
Not really all that clever.
No, but kind of funny.
Kind of funny. People are freaking the fuck out, and so the guitar company had to pull that product from their website. And
well, who could take that seriously?
Right?
It's like, I was actually showing my wife yesterday some comics by Johnny Ryan, and I was like,
probably the comic equivalent
of the
Steel
Pussy
Panther,
Melter. Yeah. And I told her, like, I gave her an issue of Angry Youth Comics, and I said, hey, honey, I want you to open this up to any page whatsoever.
You have done this to me as well.
Yeah, it's a test. Yeah, I'm like, and open it up and read the 4 panels on these 2 pages, and try not to laugh.
Right.
And she couldn't. She opened it and she read the first one. She was like, well, I don't get this one because it's a math joke. And it was like a super vulgar math joke. And then the next one, though, she was like, ha! It was like some 3-humped camel that was like fucking something. I don't know. But she was like, that's really funny.
Right.
And to me, his stuff is so absurd that I don't understand how you can be offended by it.
Right.
Like, it's clearly, it has all the elements of an offensive cartoon.
Yeah.
But it has so many of them and takes it so far that it's clearly just, like, the joke's on you if you don't think it's funny.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it sounds to me like the Pussy Melter is the same thing.
I absolutely agree. Yeah. It's just, like, even knowing just the slightest context of what Steel Panther is, like,
right.
You would just be like, okay, whatever, you know, just ignore it.
Yeah.
You know?
Like,
I don't like Johnny Ryan myself, but, you know.
Right.
Well, I know what it is, and, like, there's nothing that I could look at and read of his that would be like, that's offensive.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, of course, that's what he's trying for.
Yeah.
But, like, it is so ridiculous and so over the top.
Oh, yeah. Like, if David Lee Roth put out a effects pedal called the Pussy Melter, I'd be like, that guy's an idiot.
Right. Yeah.
Because clearly he would be 100% serious.
Right.
You know?
And also, he's an idiot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But,
I mean,
I still kind of love him.
Oh, sure, you know, yeah. But, I mean, he is the hair metal equivalent of a clown.
Oh, yeah.
That is why he is Dr. Roxo on Metalocalypse.
That's true, I always forget that, yeah. But yeah, if one of those guys, like, an actual, like, you know, like, Trickster or whatever put out the Pussy Melter, you'd be like, okay, guys, that's just a little much. But Steel Panther doing it, you know,
exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
Wow. People get offended. But I think people kind of secretly are looking for something to, like, direct their life rage at.
I'm sure.
So, like, they do get offended by things that they probably, deep down, know they shouldn't.
Right. Like, I mean, like I get, certain things can be, very problematic or very offensive. Like, I understand that, but like, especially like, in sort of the culture where a lot of things are now just being called out because of that. And I'm fine with that, if it's a legitimate thing.
Sure.
But it's just 4 stupid dudes who have been doing this for like 15 years.
Right.
They've never made any sort of secret about what they are. They're definitely not, spearheading the Me Too campaign while also putting out the Pussy Melter.
Right. Sure.
Like, they're just riffing on, a 30-year-old musical genre.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and like I could totally see that being like on a t-shirt on, Sebastian Bach's.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I love that whole era of music.
Sure.
I think it's some of my favorite, music as far as nostalgia goes in this world, but it clearly is dumb.
Yeah.
And, it clearly was sexist and offensive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, it basically, like, not to get too heady here, but I think any sort of art that's offensive, it is just kind of a reflection of its time.
Oh,
I mean, you look at like 1900s comics by Winsor McCay, and it's like the most horribly offensive racist shit.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think Winsor McCay invented that, and I don't think him drawing it in a comic perpetuated it.
Right.
I think it just, like, art is a reflection of your surroundings and your time.
Yeah.
And if people are offended by it, then art is doing its job.
I mean, imagine the stuff that you and I do, like, in 40 years, what people will find offensive about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I find 80% of what you do offensive now.
Well, yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
Especially the stuff that you're doing for Sparkle. But that's more of just a moral thing, yes. But no, yeah, I mean, it's like, in DC, is supposed to be releasing a Shazam story from the 40s called the Monster Society of Evil.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, which is like one of the first long-running serialized stories in comics that ran for like 2 years across like 20 issues.
That's crazy. That was like in the 40s?
Yeah. And it hasn't been printed or reprinted up until this point in time because there are a lot of racist stereotypes throughout the story.
Right. Probably mostly Japanese.
I would guess for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because that seemed pretty prevalent, even on like old Looney Tunes and DC comic covers.
Yep. And like Warner Brothers released like a Looney Tunes, some of that era, batch of cartoons, and they put like a warning, in the front of it. It was like,
this is a historical relic,
Right. And then some of it's offensive, but it was at the time.
Yeah.
And not that I think that forgives any of it, but, it does, at least to me, sort of like, well, they're at least acknowledging.
It's, yeah.
But, I'm sure people still are upset that happened. But So DC is putting out this Shazam collection, but no word on whether they're changing anything. Or I know apparently like there will be some essays included in it, so I'm sure someone will be like, hey, this is not good.
Do they have Kurt Swan redraw all the heads, all the faces?
It was Murphy Anderson, I believe, who redrew all of Jack Kirby's.
Oh, was it? I thought it was Kurt Swan.
No, I think it was Murphy
Anderson. I think that's, I think stuff like that's fine. Like obviously if someone's putting out stuff like that as a means of propaganda,
right,
then that's one thing. But whenever it's just like, this is the 1940s.
Right,
this is the era I live in. I'm drawing artwork about it. And
right.
I don't know. I don't really think anything wrong with artwork that depicts racial stereotypes or, just problems in society because it's artwork.
Right.
It's, it's expressing something.
I would much rather see, like even Will Eisner, like with his Ebony character from the Spirit, like I would rather see, that stuff reprinted with, sort of a, hey,
a disclaimer, right?
This is a thing,
rather
than like change it.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Will Eisner's one of my absolute favorites, but every time I've ever seen Ebony ever, other than maybe like in the Darwin Cook series where it was updated,
right?
But every other time I've ever seen Ebony, I'm just always like, ooh. Like the first time I see it, I kind of always forget, you know?
And you know, like to bring it like closer to home, you know, like I remember you have a story in one of your Veggie Dog Saturn comics about a little statuette that your mom had.
Oh yeah.
You know, of a very racist, you know, caricature. And, but you know, it's not like you're calling out your mom for just being a racist bitch, you know, like it's just a thing that she had. That
and it's like, I mean, to me it is racist, but it's like more subtly racist than some of those like DC covers. It's like it literally is a African American kid eating a watermelon,
right?
But it's not like like the way it's sculpted isn't any sort of exaggeration,
right?
Like it's just like that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what you're seeing. But it's not, like, in my mind, if someone says that, I picture, like, the most, like, Mort Drucker-looking, like, exaggerated caricature. And I'm like, but, and what's funny, I'm not gonna say who, but I recently was at one of my friend's house, and he had a very similar, I mean, he's older than me, so he's not as old as my mom, but he's, you know, older than me. And I didn't ask if it was his or his parents, but he had a similar thing on a shelf in his house. And I don't think this dude's racist at all.
Right.
But, you know, it's just like, sometimes you don't think of that element of it. I mean, you're just like, I've seen this since I was a child, and it's like I have nostalgia for this particular item, not for, like, its cultural significance.
Right,
you know? So, it is a tough, I mean, you know, I realize I've been offended by things, and I'm sure other people have before, and, you know, a lot of times it's blown out of proportion, I think. But at the same time, you know, we all do sort of share this earth, and it's nice to, like, not go out of your way to disinclude anyone.
No, of course not, you know, but, you know, also, going back to the pussy melter thing, you know, just, you know, not everything is for everyone.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And, like, you know, ultimately it comes down to, you know, like, you're allowed to just not like a thing.
Yeah.
And move on. There are plenty of other things out there for you to like.
Oh my gosh. We have this white guy that shops at my work that was complaining about how it's okay to be a white guy. You know, like, I shouldn't have to apologize for being a white guy and for liking the things I like, and I shouldn't be getting shit every time I, like, complain about something that's, you know, not a white guy thing. And I was like, what? And so basically he was, you know, he was shitting on the Jane Foster Thor.
Right.
And how, you know, it's just terrible that it's called Thor, and it's terrible that there's all these Jane Foster Thor comics, and what a waste of paper. And I'm just, you know, it's just a version of this thing that there's thousands of comics you could read where it is a white guy.
Right.
Just fucking read one of those.
Right. Exactly. And also, now again, a white guy.
Yeah. And he still doesn't like that because he said the art's terrible, and he hates Jason Aaron too. You can't win with old white people.
No. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pick my next comic. It's the entire run of the Jane Foster Thor.
That's awesome.
No.
I would actually like to read that, but probably not all at once.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I would actually. I'm very interested in reading it, but I just haven't gotten around.
How many issues? There's probably like 50.
I have no idea. Didn't it restart like 3 different times while she was Thor? And
there's got to be at least 706 of them, because I know that there's a 706 that features her. Because Marvel makes it easy to keep track of numbers.
Sure, yeah. And is that volume 1 or volume 8?
Oh my god!
Or, you know.
Well, it's by the same creative team, so it's gotta be the same.
Is it volume 2 from 2014, or is it volume 3 from 2014 that came out a month after the final issue of the first one?
Both by Aaron and Dodderman.
Right,
yeah. Comics.
No. Like, I've actually seen the Ollie's, you know, bargain outlet place has like a bunch of Marvel and DC trades, and hardcovers and all that. And they have a Thor one there. and I have thought about buying it, but I don't know which one it is.
It might not be the first one.
Right, exactly, yeah. So I've just ignored it. It's also $8.
Reading comics is hard, especially if you read Marvel or DC.
Right.
Like, it used to be kind of easy.
Yeah.
It actually used to be easier to read Marvel and DC because they were the only ones you could find everywhere.
Right.
But now you can find any comic everywhere, and Marvel and DC makes it very confusing and complex to keep up with what's happening and what series you're buying.
I was trying to organize some Daredevil comics, and it was just like, okay, so I have issue 119, but that goes into issue 500 of volume 1.
Then it goes back to number 1 after 40 issues.
Right, yeah. Well, then, like, at 513, it becomes Black Panther, and then
That's
Daredevil becomes, volume 3.
It's so
right.
poorly thought out marketing-wise.
Yeah. And then now it's at, like, issue 605. And then probably going to be rebooted again in like 3 months.
Oh, yeah. Probably.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing that there are alternative comic companies out there.
That's true.
Such as Valiant Comics. And you know what? Some of their comics even feature people of color in the lead roles.
Right. Yeah.
Such as Shadowman.
That's right. And we read that.
We did read that.
Shadowman Birthrights from Valiant Comics.
The, we guess, 2012-ish series?
I think we decided that. I honestly, I thought it was a little bit older, but you're right. It is newer.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Because I don't think Valiant really rebooted until like 2010 or 11.
Okay.
Because I remember, like, Exo Manowar, I think, was one of their first... Like, hey, we're coming back as a thing now. And that's when I started ordering from Discount Comic Book Service at the time. And, because I collected Exo for a couple issues. And that was really the only one that I had a lot of interest in.
Right. Of the newer ones.
Of the newer ones. But since then, they've brought back Shadowman and Harbinger, and Faith,
Archer and
Armstrong.
Bloodshot.
I do have a couple of Archer and Armstrongs because David LaFuente and Mike Norton.
Yeah, that's right. And Bloodshot's got Jeff Lemire.
Yeah.
Ready.
And did Matt Kent do a bunch of stuff for them too?
That's true. Yeah, he did. I think he did. Did he do Exo?
I don't know if he did Exo or not. When I was reading Exo, I think it was Robert Venditti or something like that. And Carrie Nord was the artist on it, and that's what I was really looking for. And I know at this point, Shadowman has been revived like 3 times already.
Oh no, it's getting confusing.
I know, right? But this is, I think, the first reboot of Shadowman of the new Valiant era. Writer Justin Jordan and artist Patrick Zurcher.
Yeah, Justin Jordan, he's Legend with Luther Strode, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I really like it. It's fun.
As do I. And some of his other books are pretty good as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've enjoyed...
Did you do Headlopper?
Huh? No, that's Andrew McLean.
Oh, okay.
He did Death of Love recently, about basically evil cupids.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And something about family, something or other.
Death of a Family?
No, that's a Batman storyline from like 4 years ago. No. And then Patrick Zurcher, he's done pretty much everything in comics at this point.
Captain America?
Probably.
I don't know. His art looks very like issues of Captain America to me.
I imagine that. I know Superman for a while. He's doing a lot of DC stuff lately. Some Trinity, whatever that book was. Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman. I think he was on Action for a while. And, Green Lantern here and there.
So he gets around.
He does get around. He's been working for forever. Deadpool, I know he did that for a while. I remember seeing his art like in the late 90s on Iron Man at some point. So he's busy.
Yeah.
Keeps busy.
Nice.
Which is weird because he was on Twitter like all the time. Often just getting into fights with some terrible people on Twitter.
Yeah. Like he's fighting the good fight then?
I think so.
Okay.
For the most part. Yeah.
Well, that's...
Yeah. And occasionally he'll post a poll and say, hey, who would you like me to draw? And then he'll draw whoever wins that poll.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And some of them are pretty cool. And a lot of them are some pretty obscure characters that I always love.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, have we... Okay, we did review a couple volume books. Like, we did Rye.
We've done Rye for sure.
Like, these are the 90s ones.
Those are the original, yeah. I don't think we've done anything else.
Okay.
Not that I can recall anymore.
Because I've reread a lot of 90s Valiant in the last...
You went through a
year.
big Valiant phase.
Yeah, I reread, like... Actually was surprised at how well some of it held up, like Exo and Harbinger. I thought they were, like, pretty solid. And Shadowman, I read the Shadowman from the 90s.
Sure.
Like, it's a little campy and goofy, but I kind of like that in my hero comics.
Sure.
So, I was in this kind of Valiant kick, and so the reason I chose this, I don't think I told you. So something interesting happened. As the listener may know, I worked.
Did you go to the dead side?
I did go to the dead side. No, I work at a comic book shop, and very recently, like a month ago, we got an email from Valiant, and they asked if we were carrying their books, and if we had a moment to talk. Like, they left a phone number.
Okay.
And so, for some reason, I called it, and I was like, yeah, we've tried carrying some of the books, but they honestly just don't sell very well. Like literally, we end up putting them in our dollar box after like 6 months because nobody ever buys like literally 0 copies.
Right.
Other than we had one guy that was special ordering Bloodshot for a while. But so I told him, I was like, yeah, unfortunately, I like the characters of the company and we try to support whatever, but it just doesn't sell for us. And so he said, well, he's like, do you think it would help if we gave you some promotional supplies and some other tools? And I was like, well, I don't know, like, what are you talking about? And he said, we could send you a box of Valiant trade paperbacks for the staff to read, and the ones you like, you could talk up to customers or do whatever you want with them.
Right.
And I was like, okay. So they sent us like a dozen different Valiant Volume 1s for free.
Nice.
And this was one of them. And I was like, so that was pretty fucking cool.
Hell yeah.
And I said, I'm gonna definitely pick one of these for the show. And I took like 3 of them home, and I hadn't read any of them, but I decided on Shadow because there's so I want to start off with saying thank you very much, Valiant.
That's awesome, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And a couple of the other guys that work there have borrowed books. I haven't heard what they've thought yet, but we're gonna see what happens.
That's cool. That is very cool. That actually reminds me of 10 years ago, whatever. I was online and I was posting on like the DC message board or something like that, and I'd heard a lot of good things about the Manhunter comic at the time.
Oh, okay.
So like I just wanted to post, and it's like, hey, somebody talk up Manhunter to me and convince me to buy it. And the writer of the book, Mark and Draco, said, hey Eric, send me your address, I'll send you the first trade.
I remember this now.
Yeah.
I remember this happening.
And I did, and he did.
Yeah, you're not making this up.
Yeah.
I remember this happening.
Yeah, and I really liked it, and I started buying the book from that point on.
That's pretty fucking cool.
That is very cool when people do that for you, especially when they clearly don't have to.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, your story, it's kind of sad to me a little bit because I know that like no matter what they would have sent you, no matter what, like just the shop there probably still wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the comics market has gotten to a point where there's a portion of readers who can only afford to buy the books that they've always read, and they love those characters, and that's all they're ever going to buy.
Sure.
Like literally, we've had some file cards that are so yellowed with age that still say Captain America, Batman, Spider-Man, the Hulk from like 1987,
right.
And the same people still buy those books, and they haven't updated their card in
Right.
30 years or whatever. That happens, and then there's newer stuff that's, you know, like either people invest in it because they think it's going to be a hot commodity, or it's something so different that, you know, they try it, like, what is this weird thing? But for whatever reason, we've never had any luck with the newer Valiant stuff.
Well, I think also it's probably a thing where, I mean, there is definitely a mindset in comic fandom where it's like, well, if it's not Marvel or DC, I just don't want anything to do with it.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And that's sad, because there's definitely a lot of good stuff that people are missing by having that
Sure.
mentality.
I think a lot of people too that do have sort of just a small familiarity with Valiant know that it's a hero universe, and they're like, well, I've already got my hero universe. If I'm not, you know, other than my Marvel and my DC, if I'm going to read something else, it's going to be like something weird and funny or crazy or like a crime comic or whatever. Like, it's harder to get people to try a new, like, giant hero universe.
I can see that, especially, like, there's not a ton about Valiant, I feel, that, like, sets it too far apart from anything that you read at Marvel or DC or even Image.
Well, yeah, like, even in the 90s, like, rereading those Exos and Harbingers, like, they were a little more adult, and I don't mean there was, like, sex scenes. I just mean...
Oh, well, I'm not.
Yeah. There was just, like, some of the heroes would throw around F-bombs or whatever, but not to the point where it was, like, just trying to be edgy and retarded. It was just, like, different enough, like, just slightly different enough. It wasn't crazily over-exaggerated, but you could just tell there was, like, a different tone to those books, and it did set them apart from Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I really like. I think makes those books hold up from an era that doesn't necessarily hold up that well.
Right. And I think, just looking at the core premises of a lot of their characters, like, I can definitely see stuff that's appealing about them, like Shadowman. Exo is infinitely, very compelling to me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it just as a concept.
Oh, yeah. It's a pretty cool character.
Yeah, and then, like, even, like, Faith, heavy set superhero female character is very cool that they're doing something like that. And Archer and Armstrong just looks like a farce,
Right.
But...
And Magnus has his little pants on.
That's from the 90s.
Yeah.
They no longer...
They've updated that?
They no longer publish Magnus.
Bring back the red trunks.
They're no longer in charge of Magnus.
Oh.
So you're going to have to talk to Dynamite about that.
Oh. I don't talk to Dynamite about anything.
Okay, that's good. But yeah, no, that's another thing. I think that I don't know if it's a setback or anything for current Valiant comics, but like along with like all the characters we've mentioned so far, like I do also associate Magnus and Turok and Dr. Solar. But those were all licensed from Gold Key, and current Valiant no longer has that.
Right.
So
I do always forget that.
Yeah.
Like in my mind, like Solar is in that stack of trades that the guy sent, but it's not.
No,
yeah.
Unless it was a mistake. I do, oddly enough, a couple months ago, I bought all of the original like Gold Key Dr. Solar trades that Dark Horse put out a couple years ago.
Oh, well. Yeah.
And I've been looking for the Magnus ones, but they're a little harder to find. But yeah, so Valiant no longer does those.
So they're all their own creator.
All their own, well, not creator,
but company created.
Yeah. And apparently making some headway on getting some sort of movies out there, like Bloodshot apparently is in the works with Vin Diesel.
Oh wow, okay.
There's sort of web series that was being talked about for a while for Ninjak.
Oh, Ninja K. That was one of the trades they sent us too. Was Ninja. I always thought it was Ninjak, but
I think they changed it.
Someone pointed out it was Ninja K. Yeah. It might have been the Valiant guy.
Probably, yeah. But I think that's a recent change.
Yeah.
I really do, yeah. Because I think even when they brought that back, it was still Ninja.
Right.
Yeah. But none of those are the books we came here to talk about today.
No.
We came to talk about Shadowman.
Shadowman.
John Shadowman.
Is that his name?
I don't think so.
It's Jack.
Jack Boniface, I guess. Or Boniface, who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll know when the movie comes out.
I guess so, yeah. So you mentioned you've read the original Shadowman.
Yeah.
And literally the only thing I remember about that is the Aerosmith crossover. Which sadly this 4-issue series did not have.
Well, it was only the first 4.
That's true.
You know, Joe Perry could be lingering in issue 5. Who knows? I feel like he would hang out with Jaunty, the voodoo monkey from the Dead Zone.
Yeah.
Or the Dead Place, or whatever. It's
Dead Side.
Dead Side.
Yeah. I recall at one point in time I bought, like, Garth Ennis wrote some issues in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Of Shadow?
Shadowman.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know.
I remember buying, but I don't think I ever read any of them.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
Because I like Garth.
I think Ashley Wood even drew some of them at the time.
Weird.
Someone a lot like Ashley. I remember there being a Shadowman video game around the same time.
I do remember that, like, Acclaim got really into the video games because my one of my former girlfriends had Turok.
Yep,
the video game.
Yeah, that one always confused me. They turned Turok into a first-person shooter.
Yeah,
game. It's just weird,
kind of weird. Yeah,
and it became huge. Like you know, I do my Sketch a Day blog, and a couple of months ago, I was doing like old Valiant characters, the Gold Key characters, and I decided to draw Turok. And when I looked up reference, it was just all video game shots.
That was it.
You know? And the foil cover to issue 1.
Oh, that's a great cover.
Bart Sears in his prime.
I love that cover.
Yeah. So I remember renting the Shadowman game from the Blockbuster. But it was from that era where he was more like a bald voodoo guy with sunglasses.
I do. I'll go ahead and say I do prefer the campier 90s Shadowman, where it was a little bit more like just odd and over the top, and he's got like a living nanny named Nettie, who's a voodoo lady.
Sure.
I mean, like,
and of course, he was a sexy, smooth jazz saxophone
yes, he
player.
was. Yeah. Yeah, because in this one he like works at some sort of museum or something.
So let's just call that disappointment number 1.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this comic.
I know. That's one of the reasons I wanted to put out front first. Like, I really do appreciate the fact that Valiant was kind enough to send me. This book was not good.
It's not. And it makes me feel especially bad because I do follow and occasionally communicate with both Justin Jordan and Patrick Searcher online. And so, like, it's like, I felt coming into this with you that it was either going to be one of those things that we both just didn't like it, or we both just felt completely blasé about it.
Right.
And either way, it was not going to be a great review.
I'm like teetering on that edge between those two because I don't hate it.
Yeah.
It's just pretty right down the middle.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing like overly like stylish or like a interesting perspective, or like,
no,
like, it's not funny, it's not like scary, it's just kind of like it is kind of like just like a video game.
You know what it reminded me the most of, oddly enough, was mid-90s Wildcats.
Okay. I can see that.
Like there's even like a dwarf character who's
Docs.
sort of in charge of everything.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
monsters that just kind of look sort of generic demonish.
Yeah.
I will say this: I did like sort of not the main villain, but sort of the main adversary,
Twist.
Mr. Twist.
Yeah, he was cool. Well designed.
He looks very cool, and I'm always a sucker for a monster in fine clothes.
He's got a white tailored suit in the middle of the book.
So whatever whoever came up with that was definitely aiming right for my soft spot there. But yeah, I did not find very much else interesting about this comic.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just kind of like I have a feeling that 8 days from now, if you ask me about this, I won't even remember that I've read it.
Right?
Like it's just blasé. It's not bad. Like if one of my friends had done it, I'd be like, man, you did a good job. Like because it's like clearly, like the storytelling works.
Right.
The art has good anatomy. Like like there's nothing wrong with it. There's
the guys who did it certainly knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And certainly can do it well.
Yeah, they clearly have the technical skills.
Yes. Maybe their hurts weren't in it. I don't know.
Yeah, because like I said, Justin Jordan, man, Luther Strode was like so like interesting and unique and like fun and weird, and this was none of those 4 words.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's like the speck of a good idea here and there. Like I certainly liked Jaunty, the Loa monkey.
I wanted to, but I didn't really care for him.
Yeah. But like Mr. Dark or whatever his name is, Master Dark. Who I know is like an old Valiant villain,
and he was way cooler in the old series.
Yeah, but there was really nothing interesting about him in this.
It just kind of feels like, so to me, in the 90s, Shadowman was like this new character, and they were creating his mythos as they put out the books. To me, what this feels like is that Shadowman is now, he's a property.
Right.
Like he's a video game, he's a character that's been around for 20 years. Like he's one of those corporate entities now that they couldn't like stray too far with, or they didn't want to try too many weird things with, because he just seems like he always, I don't know, he just seems like hodgepodge, like homogenized enough that he's not interesting now.
Right. I do know that at one point in time he was one of the highest selling comic book characters in the country.
Shadowman was?
Yeah. Wow. Shocked me too when I heard that.
Like in the 90s?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's Aerosmith's fault.
Well, probably. But you know what else is Aerosmith's fault? Probably not appearing in this.
Yeah.
Imagine what we could have talked about had Aerosmith shown up.
Right? Like just once. Like
right.
like he would have just seen like their CD at a store or something. Yeah.
Or if they'd been the hungry ghosts in the dead side.
Yeah, and honestly, like I personally have a predilection, is that a word?
Predilection.
For like kind of cartoony art or like exaggerated art, and like this art is clearly good. This guy's talented. Like he's great.
Yeah,
but I do not like his artwork. Personally, I just do not care for it.
I get it. And I like his art too, and I have enjoyed, for the most part, reading him on Twitter and the occasional interaction with him. But his art's a little stiff in this.
Yeah.
It's not very bombastic or anything like that. Not that it has to be, but
there's just nothing about it that is like particularly attractive. It's like it serves the purpose.
It leans more towards the slightly realistic side of superhero comics,
and that's my least favorite kind of artwork.
Yeah, you and I both prefer more cartoony when it comes to that kind of thing. And so, there's just nothing about it that really grabs us, I feel. And again, it's like, not that I think he's bad at all.
Yeah, he's clearly a talented dude. Both those guys.
Yeah. And I would certainly, read anything else by both of these guys. But for some reason, just, honestly, like I can't remember too much about what actually happened in this book.
Yeah,
there's like a lot of stuff that I basically just sort of like my eyes glaze over when I read about in superhero comics, like clans and
like demon clans. Yeah,
and,
it's just boring.
Yeah. And Shadowman has sort of a legacy kind of thing, like familial heritage passed down from
and he's like kind of he's rebelling against his parents or whatever. Maybe this is geared towards younger kids.
Could be,
because he's like he finds out kind of information about his parents that maybe he would be better off not knowing, and he doesn't like really want to follow in their footsteps, and like he wants to disconnect from the heritage. And maybe that's something like angsty teens would have appreciated more than us 40-year-old dudes.
Could be, but I also feel like I've read that story told better, like in various other superhero comics. Like even the Black Panther movie, I feel handles that sort of thing much better than much more interestingly than Shadowman did. But there's also that sort of aspect of my whole life is a lie. It's just
Dawn.
Right? Yeah, it's just sort of stuff we've all read 100 times. And
I think I would have liked it a lot if there would have just been like maybe like every half dozen pages there would have been something funny that happened.
Right? Yeah.
Like it was just kind of joyless.
Yeah. Like I know Justin Jordan is a pretty funny guy.
Yeah.
Even like through all the brutal violence of like Luther Strode, like there were parts of it that were also just kind of hilarious.
Right.
So yeah, like I don't know whether it was like you said, because it is a corporate entity of some sort, like it was very watered down.
I mean, yeah, like I don't know, because so the path of a corporate character usually takes it usually starts off where they come up with a character, and then for a while it's kind of stagnant, and then after a longer while they get to do more interesting things with them because it's established and they can pull it in different directions and let it snap back. But I think maybe he's just in the phase where like he's new enough that they're not wanting to stray too far yet, but he's old enough that like they're done like kind of cultivating his mythos. So he's just kind of in this like middle ground where there's not much happening with him. Like, because if you read a Batman book now, you can say like, oh, well, Sam Keith's going to do the Batman Max thing. That's going to be crazy and weird.
Right. Well, Batman, again, at this point is established. You can almost do any kind of story with Batman.
And then it's always going to snap back to your monthly titles, the status quo.
Yep.
I don't know. Yeah, I was just disappointed. And I think, I think knowing that I really like the Shadowman books that I'd read like a few months ago from the 90s that I reread, and I really like Justin Jordan, and I really was excited by the fact that this Valiant representative, whose name I can't remember, and I apologize, but he he was cool enough to do this for us. All these things were like giving me excitement about it, and I think the actual product was not as exciting as any of those three things.
Like again, with like every Valiant character, like there are definitely aspects to it that I want to like. Like I can definitely pick out, like, oh, that is a really cool thing, and boy, with the right story, that could be awesome. And unfortunately, with this one,
he doesn't play the saxophone.
He does not play the saxophone. I'm not kidding.
That was one of the cool things.
That is, it really is.
I mean, yeah, in the 90s when he's like playing saxophone and this hot girl's at the club and she sees him and he like invites her back to hang out, and she invites him to her house, so they have drinks, and he's drugged and he's can't really move, and then she becomes this crazy vampire lady and like attacks him, and then he wakes up in the morning and stumbles home, and on his way home he finds this crazy voodoo mask and he's compelled to put it on, and he gets home and he talks to Nettie, and she's like, shadow's the voodoo word for soul, and like you're the Shadow Man, and then like then he like fights these rednecks that have a gator farm with kidnapped girls. It's fucking crazy. Aerosmith's there, and like, it's awesome.
I don't know if it's just because you were talking really fast, but that sounded amazing.
And he plays saxophone.
And he plays saxophone. But with this one, it's like he works as like a janitor at a museum, and then he's got like a locket that he throws into the ocean, and that gives him his powers.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, so that is what happens. Like, he gets rid of this locket that I guess his parents gave him to protect him from these evil forces.
Right.
And once that's gone, the elements of evil that are out there are made aware of his presence because it's no longer protecting him.
Right.
And that's how your story starts with, like, and like, maybe the one cool thing I like about this story was how, the, Mr. Twist or whatever his name is, like, kind of initiates humans into, like, helping him. He, like, shoots these crazy, sluggy monsters down the throats of these cops.
Yeah.
And now these cops are, like, monster cops that are following around.
Yeah.
That was, like, the only element that I think was really interesting about the story.
I agree, and like I said, I like Mr. Twist, but there was just not a lot else about this that I really liked.
Right.
And again, it's not like I disliked it. It's just it was so well tread,
Right.
that did not really make that much of an impression on me at all.
It's just kind of run of the mill. Like I said, I'm sure in a couple weeks if you mention Mr. Twist, I'll be like, talking about Chubby Checker?
Right,
like,
yeah,
what are you talking about?
So interestingly enough, and just like one of those weird, coincidences, so I follow both of the two main creators like on various social media. Justin Jordan himself a few days ago just randomly just posted his initial pitch for Shadowman.
Oh, really?
Which got him this job.
Huh.
And it is completely different.
Huh.
And everything that he described sounded like something I would much rather have read.
What did he say?
So apparently his initial pitch for this book was that Shadowman is an urban legend. And like just the people of New Orleans are just always talking about the Shadowman, and he's like this sort of protector of like the homeless and the disenfranchised, and he has been for decades, and he's just the champion of the downtrodden. But Shadowman doesn't exist at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day the main character Jack Boniface, whatever, happens to die publicly in a very specific way that happens to fit the whole myth that people are always talking about with Shadowman, and that because of that and the power of people believing like that Shadowman does exist, he actually physically does become Shadowman.
Huh. Okay.
And has to basically start filling that role.
That's interesting.
It sounds way more interesting than pretty much anything that happened in this book, unfortunately.
Right.
So,
I mean, that may have been good, may have been bad, but...
but concept-wise...
Right.
It's
more intriguing.
It is definitely more intriguing. It definitely has more of a hook than...
Like, he's there.
Right, yeah. His dad was Shadowman, I guess. Maybe he died.
Yeah.
And the Wildcats were formed.
Yeah, and this like leaves us with like, it's not quite a cliffhanger, but like just a few pages before the end of the book, you think Master Dark is gonna come through the portal and unleash havoc, and then he's just pretty easily stopped.
Yeah.
And then like at the very end, he's like, "I'm gonna try again," and like that's kind of how it ends. And you're just like, "Huh."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't help that these 4 issues are all pretty much just origin setup.
Yeah. He doesn't really become Shadowman until like the last 2 issues, I guess.
Yeah. Like he does in the first issue or so of sorts, but not.
Does he? I can't remember.
Yeah, like once he throws away the amulet or whatever. But it's for a short period of time, and then he doesn't remember anything that happened. sentences.
Yeah.
And it takes like another 2 issues for him to get his shit together with the help of Jacob Marlowe and Voodoo.
Alyssa, yeah. Dox and Alyssa. See, I do remember their names now, but in a week I won't.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just so blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am going to try, not as a good or trash pick, but I'm going to try one more of the Valiant trades. I'm toggling between either Exo, Bloodshot, or Unity. They all look mildly interesting. And maybe I'll let us know
Yeah,
if any of them are good.
I'd be very interested. I did read like the first couple issues of Exo, and they were okay.
Yeah.
I like them more for the arts than anything else.
I might try Bloodshot just because I know I like Jeff Lemire.
Sure.
And we'll see. And I liked that character from way back.
Sure.
So we'll see.
But as we learned several months ago, not everything Jeff Lemire does is
that's true.
Is gold. So,
yeah.
So I wish you luck.
Or Matt Kent did some too. Maybe I'll read one of his.
Did he do Unity 4000?
Maybe. Yeah, I know. I think he did 2 different ones in our batch because I remember seeing his name twice. So.
All right. Well, you want to take a break?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Shadow. A shadow. Shadow. Supernatural. Shadow. 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 Shadow.
Welcome back to Pussy Melter. It's the new name of our show, right?
Huh?
That's the new name of the show.
Yeah,
That's fun.
Yeah. I was hoping maybe we'd wait till episode 400 to name change, but it's fine. I'm good now.
When you have something gold, you can't sit on it.
No, I mean, nobody else is going to use it, so
Right.
might as well be us.
He's Pussy, I am Melter.
That works.
Yeah. Well, so other than the Shadowman book, I've read some fun books.
So,
I unearthed somebody came in Mavericks and donated a bunch of old 80s and 90s DC comics.
Sure.
As you're well aware.
Yep.
So me and you each took a stack of them home.
Yeah.
And I read the first Giffen de Mateus. How do you say his name?
DeMatteis, I guess. Huh?
So I read the first one of those I'd read in decades.
Yeah.
It was like a Justice League International with Mr. Miracle and Blue Beetle and the whole crew. And it was pretty good. It was funny.
Oh,
It was like when this like team of like third-rate villains was starting the Injustice League.
yeah. Sure.
And it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I'm a like unabashed big fan of that run.
Oh yeah.
I think it's by far one of my favorite runs in all of comics altogether. Yeah.
Kevin Maguire, I think, draws better like, facial expressions than maybe anyone else in the world of superheroes.
I would agree with that entirely. Yeah.
He's awesome. Like, there's one page where Guy Gardner is trying to bug Mr. Miracle, and it's like a 9-panel, or maybe 12-panel grid.
Wow.
And it's just their two faces on every panel, like the same exact, like, camera position, if you will.
Right.
And, like, every single panel has a completely different expression on both of their faces.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah. He's great. And yeah, I love that run of the Justice League. I definitely think it's one of the ones that made me like the hardcore comic fan that I am.
Oh yeah.
Because I remember buying issue 3 of that book off the newsstands, and just fell in love with it entirely, and I didn't even know who, other than Batman, like
right,
I didn't know, like in Captain Marvel, like I didn't know any of those characters.
Oh, that was the cool. Yeah, the cool thing about that, especially the international, like the one I read, there was no Batman or Aquaman or Martian Manhunter was like the most recognizable character, and this is like 1989,
right?
So he's probably not that recognizable to most people,
right?
So yeah, it was really cool that they're just trying whatever.
Yep. But that is definitely the series that made me fall in love with the Blue Beetle for sure.
Oh, I can see why. He was great, and Guy Gardner is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, he's definitely my top 2 favorite Green Lanterns.
Yeah. So Gnort and
Guy Gardner. You laugh. Not joking.
Awesome. That's great.
No, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I have fond memories of it. It still holds up pretty well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I was surprised. Like, I was like, well, for free, since this guy doesn't want these and we don't need them,
right?
I'll go ahead and take them, and I'll read 1 or 2 of them. But no, I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm down. Like, these are fun and weird. And speaking of fun and weird, the other thing I read was a new Jim Woodring graphic novel, Poochie Town, came out. Yeah. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
And my wife read Poochie Town to the boys, giving them psychedelic nightmares for years, I'm sure.
All right.
Because it's like the coolest thing about his comics, which I'm sure we talked about before, but I love how, like, they could honestly read to anyone who's capable of recognizing pictures, because, like, it doesn't matter how old you are or what language you speak. Like, you might not, like, understand what's going on all the time. Like, I don't either. Right. But I kind of, like, feel like I get, I get something out of it.
Right.
And you don't have to speak English or be, like, a child or an old person or what. It's just, like...
It's just utter nonsense.
It's absurd, and it's, like, transcending. It's so weird. I love it. Like, it's just, like, strange and thought-provoking and cute and disgusting all at the same time.
Yeah, I remember that I was not a fan of his previous book, so,
Which one did we read?
It was Weathercraft.
Oh, that's what we read.
Yeah.
Okay, that was like 3 books ago.
Okay.
Yeah. But still.
Yeah. I mean, can't deny that his art is immaculate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, not a stray line in any way.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
I think he's one of those guys I think I don't ever want to see, like, an artist's edition for.
Either.
Either.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I don't think I could handle the anxiety.
Yeah. He's going to be in Columbus for CXC this year.
I know. I told you that.
Yeah. I couldn't remember who told me that.
Yeah.
I knew I was told that. I thought maybe I had it it came to me in a vision. After reading Jim Woodard comics on various forms of hallucinogens. I don't partake in hallucinogens.
No, you do not.
I just like green tea and the love of my friend Eric.
Sure.
That's what gets me off. I mean, gets me high. So yeah, I don't know, have you read anything good that we won't be reviewing?
I have, actually. Years ago, when my ex broke up with me, she, I guess, as like a parting gift.
Huh.
Other than like the 7 or 8 times that we hooked up past the breaking up.
Yeah, that's a parting gift. Too.
Sure. But the physical parting gift that didn't hurt immediately afterwards was she gave me her tablet, which it had a nice pen, so I was using it for art for a little while. But for the most part, like, I've got my phone and I've got other stuff, so I didn't use it that much. And then I've been going to a lot of doctor's appointments lately, and so just sit in the waiting room a lot. So I started trying to read, and it's hard to read on my phone.
Oh, yeah.
Especially as my vision is getting worse. So I decided to see if I could, I fired up, that old tablet and then tried to convert it into a reading machine.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it was so old that a lot of the programs and apps that I like to use were too new for that one to use. So I dicked around with it, and I figured out a way to upgrade it, and so I finally got it upgraded, and now it only has reading apps on it. One of those apps is called Hoopla.
Okay, I've heard of Hoopla.
Which is a library app. You connect it to your local library, and then you can download whatever.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And so I downloaded, and I have been reading the first Tom King, 15 or so issues of his Batman run.
Oh, okay.
Because
you want to gear up for the wedding.
I wanted to gear up for the wedding. And after reading The Vision and Mr. Miracle, I think in the Vision episode I mentioned that I was not a huge fan of that first issue he did of Batman. Right. But I wanted to give it a fair shake, and it grew on me, a lot and fast. And then I think I'm... the one disappointing thing about it was in the middle of the book it had... there was a crossover, the Night of the Monster Men.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. I remember.
But it only has the Batman issues of that crossover.
Yeah, there is a separate trade just for that crossover.
Yeah. So that was annoying.
Yeah.
So once I figured out that that entire story was not published in that one, I just skipped those issues.
What did it crossover with? Do you remember? Was it Catwoman and
Detective and Nightwing and the main Bat books at the time, I guess. So yeah, that was obnoxious.
To crossovers, generalist.
Yeah, to have each part 1 and part 7.
Right.
So I ignored those. But that said, you mentioned the wedding issue. I did buy issue 50 because it had a sweet Art Adams cover that wasn't $100 to buy.
I know. I was surprised. I figured his would be one of the rare ones.
It usually is, especially when it's a Marvel book variant. So I bought it and I read it, and while reading, this first hardcover collection or whatever, there's a lot of stuff set up in those first 15 issues or so that totally pay off in that issue 50.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
A lot is just I feel like I read an issue in this that word for word, had very many of the same things that happened in issue 50.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he seems like a guy that plays the long game.
Yeah.
Like, even his miniseries are 12 issues instead of 4 issues.
Right. So, yeah, so that's been very good, actually. Especially once you get past the David Finch issues. Not fair. And also I've been rereading Preacher.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
yeah. That's an undertaking.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like 70 of them or whatever.
Right. But yeah, I've the new season started. I watched the first episode and decided that you know what, every time Preacher comes back on TV, I say to myself, man, this really makes me want to reread the books. And also makes me really not want to watch this TV show. And so I finally decided to pull the trigger on both of those things.
Nice. So you're done watching the show?
Oh, I'm totally done
So
with that
is
show.
this the third season? Then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow. I was thinking only the second.
Yeah.
I've still never seen a single episode of the show.
I think you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't, like, run away from it, like, if it happened to be on, but I shan't ever seek it out, I believe.
Yeah. It's just... Like I can honestly say that, you know, like, I'm a big fan of the comic. But, like, I've never felt like I was one of those fans that'd be like, oh, they changed things out there, you know, like I'm fine with, you know, changing anything as long as it's still good.
Yeah, sure.
You know, like it could be something completely different, you know, it's still called Preacher, and as long as it was still watchable and entertaining, like, I would be 100% fine with it.
Right.
But it's just not good. You know, just from a storytelling perspective, it's just not good.
Right. Yeah.
And also, it's sort of, you know, because Preacher was kind of a globe-trotting, you know, go everywhere kind of comic, and, you know, that kind of thing, you clearly see the TV show doesn't have the budget for that. So, you know, entire seasons are set in one location.
Oh, man.
Whereas, you know, like, by issue 5, they've already been in, like, 6 different cities, you know.
I hope that doesn't happen when they do Y, The Last Man, because that's another book that kind of travels all over.
Yep.
Hopefully they can do that right.
Yeah, hopefully. You know. And, like, you know, I know Walking Dead, you know, also was one of those things where just, you know, clearly they have a limited budget as to what they can do, and so, you know, but I felt like that one would tread too closely to the comics to be entertaining. Like, I want that, I guess, fine medium.
Right.
Where it's like, you know,
it's enough to actually associate, but it's different enough to be interested in.
Exactly, yeah, because, like, I've never been a guy that also wants to see direct translations
Right.
of, you know...
Oh, yeah, that's boring.
Exactly. Like, well, I've already read this thing, you know?
Right. Yeah. Someone told me that Animosity got picked up, too. Did you tell me that?
No, I've not paid attention to Animosity since I closed that book.
No, apparently it's being made into a film. Well, we'll see.
It's an interesting idea.
Exactly, like, it could be much better as a film.
Yeah.
Because probably couldn't be much worse. Unless it's like one of those Sharknado type of things. Like the direct-to-video rip-off of Sharknado.
Right.
It's like Shark Hurricane or something. Dolphinicane.
Yeah. You know, for some other random things here, nothing worth talking about.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, anything else happening? Crazy? Did we? I don't think either one of us have done any comic-related events since we spoke last.
Not really. But I think you went out of town for a weekend since the last time.
Did I?
I think so. Did that camping trip thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, camp.
But, yeah, otherwise, like, I haven't done anything. I did watch movies, but I watched the Mr. Rogers documentary.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I want to see that.
Pretty much within like the first 10 minutes, I started crying and then didn't stop for 2 hours.
Wow,
So
sounds cathartic.
yeah.
Like, was any of it like happy crying?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Like,
good.
it's never really sad crying at
Oh,
all. Like,
okay,
ever.
cool.
Yeah.
So it's just like heartwarming.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, like towards the end, obviously when he passes away, but it's still, it still manages to be, feel good.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And also, one of those things that you kind of watch, and well, I guess me specifically, that I kind of watch, and think to myself, well, I'm just a fucking monster who doesn't deserve to be in this world because Mr. Rogers would want better things.
No, Mr. Rogers would love you. He would sing to you while he changes his shoes.
Yeah.
And let you meet King Faraday.
Yeah.
And have a bright day while he's...
Apparently, it's King Friday.
What?
King Friday the 13th.
Huh.
Yeah. King Faraday is a DC character.
That's right. You're right. No, it is Friday. Yeah. Our guy Friday.
Which also was made worse by the fact that the two women who sat in my row talked through the entire movie, and I really had to fight the urge to yell at them because I'm watching,
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers, try to teach people how to be tolerant of others.
Right,
and,
yeah. That's like a lesson right there. It's like
Right.
a challenge. He's speaking directly to me. It's a good thing you weren't high. Like, this is crazy.
But yeah, don't watch it with annoying people, and it's a great movie.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well, I have done nothing else exciting either, so if you want to pick a comic,
I can pick a comic. This book that I'm gonna pick is one I've never read.
Okay.
Gonna guess you have.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
Also,
Is it the original Valiant Shadowman?
It is not. But also, I'm guessing just from what I know of you, if you have read it, you probably do not own it anymore. But we'll find out, and who knows, you maybe even veto it, I'm not sure.
Ooh, this is all very exciting.
Yeah. I picked this up a couple of weeks ago at the last Jim and Dan show. And I would like to read Goodbye Chunky Rice.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've never read it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
By Craig Thompson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I do not own it.
Okay.
I've never owned it.
Okay.
I've never read it.
I am legitimately 1000% surprised
Right? By
at
all that.
any of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. That's
Alright.
really.
Yeah.
Alright. So not vetoing it.
Sure. Yeah. Not,
Okay.
not,
Fair.
not
Fair. You don't seem excited. Okay.
Guess we'll get into that.
Okay.
Sure.
Alright,
Yeah,
alright.
well, I'm definitely not going to beat it.
Okay. Alright.
Cool. But I can borrow your copy.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once I read it. Yes.
Cool. Yeah.
Alrighty then. Well then, I guess that's as good enough sign as any that we should get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I want to thank Hank, the saxophonist, for playing for us tonight.
It was the bomb.
Yeah. And we'll think about having him back at some other point, maybe if we review Nightman at some point.
Or any other saxophone. Is there any other saxophone player?
There should be more for sure.
God, I feel like I've read saxophone playing comic book characters before.
Right.
I can't think of one.
Guy Gardner.
Did he play? We'll figure it out.
Yeah. There aren't a lot of just straight up superheroes who have careers
plays.
as musicians.
I think there's a new Spider-Man comic where he plays guitar, like a punk rock Spider-Man.
Is that one of those Spider-Verse comics?
Yeah.
You know, there was that Black Canary series where she was the fronting a punk band.
That's right. Spider-Gwen was in the band.
Spider-Man she's Mary James.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. But no saxophone.
No saxophone.
Yeah.
No. It's too bad.
Yeah. All right then. Well,
goodbye, Chunky Rice.
Goodbye, Chunky Rice.
Thank you for listening to Gutter Trash. You can subscribe to the show from guttertrash.net or from iTunes and leave us a review. Visit guttertrash.net for email information and for other podcasts and websites in the Gutter Trash Network. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.